My husband took PTO to hike with his mom while I was in the hospital. Now I want a divorce. I'm 29F, and I recently had a surgery that should have been a straightforward recovery. But instead, it made me question whether I should ever have kids with my husband or even stay married to him at all. My husband, 30M, is from the West Coast. We live on the East Coast, where we met after college. His mother still lives out west, and during the first 2 years of our relationship, she visited 3 to 4 times a year. Every time, my husband would take PTO from work just to entertain her. Think, day trips, long dinners, being her personal tour guide. At one point, I asked him, "When are we going to use your PTO to take a vacation for us?" He agreed it was a problem. We planned a trip to Europe for 2023 and agreed he wouldn't use time off just to host mommy anymore. But even after that, when she visited, I worked from home 4 days a week, and she'd just sulk around the house all day like a bored teenager. The second my husband walked in the door, smiles, laughter, full attention, like flipping a switch. We moved to a new state, closer to my family. I got a new doctor who finally recommended me for a surgery that my old doc kept putting off. It wasn't high risk, but it would drastically improve my quality of life. And just like clockwork, my Emile decided it was time to visit. She said she wanted to help around the house while I recovered. I was skeptical, but my husband and I agreed this wasn't a sightseeing visit. Her role was to help, cook, clean, manage small things around the house so I could rest. He promised she understood that. Wednesday, my husband dropped me off at the hospital. Plan was 1 night in recovery, discharge Thursday. Thursday, doctors said my labs weren't great. Wanted to keep me for an extra night. I called my husband, told him the update, and expected he'd visit. He didn't. Friday, I was cleared for discharge and called him to come get me. Straight to voicemail. Tried again and again. Nothing. Eventually, I called my sister. She left work early, shout out to her amazing boss, drove 90 minutes to pick me up. When we got to the house, I broke down. Laundry was everywhere. Dirty dishes in the sink. The litter box hadn't been cleaned in days. It was disgusting. My sister packed a bag for me and took me home with her. Friday night, my husband finally called. He sounded confused. "The hospital said you were already discharged. Where are you?" I told him, with my sister. Recovering somewhere that doesn't smell like old takeout. Why hadn't he answered my calls? He was on a hike. With his mom. No cell service. So yeah, he took PTO again to hang out with his mom. The same PTO we agreed was supposed to be for us, and abandoned me after surgery. I told him I wouldn't return home until the house was clean and his mother was gone. He said I was overreacting, that his mom just wanted to explore our new city, and that I was stuck in the hospital anyway. No apology, just excuses. Update 1, later that weekend. Thanks to everyone for your support. Honestly, I didn't think I'd get this much clarity from strangers on the internet, but here we are. I had long talks with my sister and my best friend. Both said what I was afraid to admit. This isn't new. This is a pattern. I've been putting up with it for too long. I texted my husband. I'll be staying with my sister until we have a serious conversation. Therapy is on the table, but only if he's willing to do the work. His response? Silence. For almost a full day, Emile eventually flew home. She didn't help around the house at all. Just had herself another vacation. Update 2, midweek. Husband finally called. And oh boy, still so defensive. I didn't know the surgery was that serious. I thought you'd want space. I didn't think you'd be this upset. I asked him, "Do you think what you did was acceptable while your wife was in a hospital bed?" He went quiet. I told him until I see real change, I'm not moving back in. I've also started therapy. And I called a lawyer, not to threaten him, but to educate myself. I need to know my options. Update 3, 1 week later. The lawyer was incredibly helpful. I'm not filing yet, but I'm not flying blind anymore. Husband finally agreed to try couples counseling. We booked a session. I'm not holding my breath, but I'll go, if only to get closure. Truth is, I already feel myself pulling away emotionally. And I realized something huge. I don't want to spend the rest of my life begging someone for basic respect. Update 4, the final straw. Night before our first therapy session, he tried to reschedule. Guess why? His mom won a long FaceTime call. Yep, again with the mom. I told him, I'll be at that session, with or without you. He said he'd try to make it. At this point, I'm already done. The therapy session isn't for fixing the marriage. It's for giving myself permission to let go. Final update, 2 weeks later. We did the therapy session. He showed up late, barely participated. The therapist asked him, "What did your wife need from you during surgery?" He couldn't answer, and that was it for me. I told him I'm separating. I found a temporary place to stay. We're sorting out logistics now. He cried. He begged. I didn't think you'd actually leave. But that's the thing. You never thought I'd actually leave because I always stay before. I'm heartbroken. I'm tired. But mostly, I'm relieved because for the first time in a long time, I'm not begging anyone to choose me.